G'day listeners and welcome back to another episode of the Keeper League podcast. With our AFL fantasy podcast that doesn't talk about the superstars. We only talk about the less knowns and the players who are going to bring value to your draft and Keeper League teams. My name's Heff, and here with me to recap round 20 is the man, the myth, the legend, Lewy from the Pod. How are you, mate?
Good to be here, mate. It's been a couple of months since I've been on.
Well, how's your Keeper League team been going since then?
Yeah, no, not too bad. I think I'm sort of top 2, top 4 in most of my leagues at the moment, and then actually one of them I'm almost last. I've neglected a little bit. That's
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately one of my keeper leagues is on a separate app, so that one at the moment is being neglected a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm going
one of my draft leagues is also on a separate app too, and it's been very, very neglected. I think it's been changed in a long time. In fairness, it's with like people I don't know. And I kind of joined it to help out, and I think the commission is just changing my team for me anyway. So if that's possible on that app anyway, I think it is. But my teams, well, this is kind of like a bit of a good story. I was talking about the Shiva last week, being ridiculed by Damon on the Shiva Blast for, I think I was bottom of the ladder after the first 3 rounds or something, winless, whatever. Stormed home with 8 wins in a row and finished minor premiers. Div 24 of the Shiva.
Good effort. Congratulations.
Got there in the end, but knocked off the top team on the weekend as well to kind of take his number 1 spot as well. So got there in the end. There are a few good teams. I reckon I've just had a good run. So and my waiver priority is not great. So I could lose out over the next few weeks if any good players come on. But at the moment, got a week off and should be in for some finals action.
I'm shocking with my waivers. I have this idea every year. I'm going to wait, kick the can down the road for the ultimate guy, and it just never comes to fruition. I miss out on all the juice early and picking from the scraps later on and end up sort of using my waiver on like a ruckman or something anyway, just to replace them. So
yeah, you'd be surprised like how I think there's probably only like 5 or 6 players usually. Actually, I haven't kept tabs in my league, but a lot of in the draft leagues, you'll find that like not many people put that many waiver claims in, and sometimes you're surprised with some of the players you get anyway. So sometimes it is worth it, and if you don't get the play, you just don't lose your priority. So
yeah, there's always a select few that are straight on it after the weekend. They've already put in their waiver bids. Dossie used
to play in a league with Statesman, and they had waivers on mid-round. So they could just pick him up straight away.
Dossie would have been so annoying in that league.
It was the Stato.
Really?
Yeah, Stato was just like a hawk. He'd pick up anyone before anyone got there.
There was a lot of time when you retired.
Yeah, well, there you go. He's been retired for 30 years. But anyway. So I got the Shiva Minor Premiership. In one of my other keeper leagues with my port mates, I finished top but lost the qualifying final by not much with Kelly subbed out of the game. It was 3/4 and he was only at 25, so it doesn't matter. Also, Liberatore subbed out as well, and I think only lost by about 30 or 40 odd points, so that's a bit of a hard one to take. And in the home league, got a win over a good opponent on the weekend. I think I scored a 17-10 to play like a 16-50, so
very nice.
Not too bad there. Got it going. But anyway, we'll recap the round and let's have a look at a few things. I don't think either of us watched much footy on the weekend. I was a few parenting duties.
I was busy weekend this weekend, a bit of work as well.
Yeah. That's all right. We've got plenty there we can talk about. I watched enough of the night game, so it should be all right. First one was Hawthorn versus Carlton. Jarman Impey's the first one on my list. He's too good for the podcast, scored 99 points, but it's more of just a sign that halfback tends to go big against Carlton at the moment. I had Carl Amon actually as a VC loophole option who didn't score, but Jarman Impey was the one that got off the chain. So it was more like a player is getting off the chain against Hawthorn at the moment. Got the Crows this weekend. Who do you think's getting off the chain?
Against the Blues, you mean?
And this week they're playing the Dockers, so surely Clark's going to go big this week.
You'd think Jordan Clark, the type of player he is, he likes to feast on these sorts of matchups. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think Jordan Clark will like that one, and potentially Luke Ryan. He's always one that pops up every few weeks for just a massive get stuffed sort of score. So yeah, keep an eye on him too.
Luke Ryan probably needs to put up some big scores for owners out there. So
it's either really, really high or it's a floor score with Luke Ryan, isn't it?
Yeah. Connor Nash also had 95 points. He went to Chera. Newcombe was subbed out of this game, so I think it kind of just gave him a bit more opportunity. So Will Day's back at the moment. I think with all their midfielders in, he might struggle, so I'm not really buying into this too much. Blake Hardwick's an interesting one, though. He's had 80 points, and he's on the 2G, 4P bubble this week. He's a lot more defensive this season. Well, he still had the forward status this year, but he has been spending a lot more time in defence over the last few weeks. And when he used to play in defence, he was a pretty late. I think he had one season where he went like an 80 plus. He was too good for the podcast. What are your thoughts on bringing him back if he was a defender full time?
I don't mind it. Like, he's got that forward DPP, which is really nice. And yeah, Blake Hardwick's been one for a number of years that I've picked up sort of really late, and he's been good for a 75. He's a pretty good player, and he's maybe just been a victim of his versatility the last few years. Hawthorn, obviously, a bit of a younger team. A couple of those guys are developing, and I think Blake Hardwick's just sort of been shifted around them just to see where their best positioning is. But if he settles down in that halfback, he could be a really nice one to pick up on the way home.
Yeah, well, because he was such a good mark and kick for goal. But now they've got Lewis back. They've got
that's what he was drafted
back.
as. He was drafted as a forward, wasn't he? So,
and then they've got who else? They got Gunston, who I don't think they ever thought would come back on like he has.
No,
and then I don't even know how
in the Coleman.
I don't even know how Mabia Chol gets back into the side from this point. So, yeah, I don't think they need him forward, is what I'm trying to say. So, hopefully he just sticks back and starts putting up some good scores and gets back to his old scoring. Mitchell Lewis had 78 points. I don't know if this is a big call or not, but I would probably have him in a similar vein to like Darcy or Thilthorpe if he wasn't injured. You know, I reckon he could be the same caliber of key forward if he didn't have, two ACLs, was it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, just a good young key forward. Just can play, take a mark, kick a goal. Showed back in the day can kick a bag before he got injured. Like, he's just a player I'd be stashing right now because we're seeing key forwards score well. And I reckon he can be added to that list once he gets going a bit.
Yeah, he can sort of be in that 80-plus range, you're thinking, a little bit like your Kernos of the past.
Yeah.
Where they've just petered around there.
Yeah, just take marks, kick goals, and get you an 80 for, 4 or 5 goals.
Harry Mackay was another, obviously, for the Blues. That was always good for that too. Get you that 80-plus score week in, week out.
Correct. And the other one was, onto the Blues side of things. Harry O'Farrell had 103 points. Had 13 marks in defence, so you wouldn't expect him to take that each week, right?
No.
Yeah, so he was just so highly claimed on the waiver wire this week. You see so many people just wasting waivers on guys who had a good 1 week score without thinking about it. So just something to think about for coaches out there. And Will White, who I know absolutely stuff all about, had 82 points, but he was playing like a forward wing role. Kicked 2 goals. Let's just see if he backs up this week, yeah?
Yeah, he's been pretty handy the last month or so. So I don't mind Will White, but yeah, as small forward, you're never going to have too much confidence in his consistency.
Yeah, correct. On to the Essendon versus Western Bulldogs game. Just Dylan Shields getting it done for the right time for owners. Bit of a farewell tour, do you think, for Dylan Shields?
Right, it has to be, doesn't it?
You'd assume so. But yeah, like people that own him, especially if you're contending, to get him back now, to get him back in the midfield and have defender status, you'd be pretty happy right now.
I think so. And look, like you said, it probably is a bit of a farewell tour, and I think he's going to want to put his best foot forward, even on the off chance that he does get a contract extension. So you might squeeze some nice scores out of Dylan Shield on the way home here.
Yeah, I agree. Aaron Norton, 111 points. He's on the 2G, 4P bubble again. He's had an amazing month. I think he's only had one game where he's gone on to 80. He did it when Darcy got off the chain too. So the trend we've kind of been seeing is one goes big, but this week they both did. Bit of Essendon factor about it. Do you reckon he can do it against GWS? Would you be streaming him this week?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think that GWS, they've got that Jack Buckley who's been injured.
Yeah, he got hurt again on Friday night, so I'm not sure if he plays this week. I think he's okay. I think he'll play, but he did look, a bit proppy in the game.
Certainly if he doesn't play, that's one I'd be jumping on because Darcy's going to get the Sam Taylor attention. But even if he's a little bit proppy, I think Norton, just as that second key forward, Sam Darcy, obviously a massive foil for him, can get off the chain a bit. So wouldn't be surprised if he can punch out an 85-plus score as a forward this week. Interesting
stat here, though. GWS hardest team for key forwards to score against this week. So I don't know. He's definitely got the talent, and sometimes the matchups can work out, but the numbers don't lie sometimes. Well, actually, no. The numbers lie a lot.
Yeah, that's just it.
I do a lot of streamers based up on that, and quite often it's I reckon they might hit about 35% of the time.
Yeah. It can get skewed quite a bit just from various factors.
100%. And then Jason Jannison was very highly requested on the waivers, 100 points. I think it was a matchup more than anything. We've seen him put up some putrid scores over the last month, playing against Essendon, who were just a super easy. I wouldn't be getting too excited is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, look, I don't mind JJ. I think obviously his best footy's behind him. But
do you own him in any leagues?
Oh, I don't think so. Maybe one, but he's just been one that I have streamed a couple of times over a number of years. And he does have his hot patches. I know the bad are bad, but the good is quite good. And when he can find some form, and he's in a team, let's be honest, that's probably going to start, purring along the next couple of weeks as they look towards finals.
Yeah.
Right on the edge there. JJ could play a big part in that.
That's the thing, though. Like, every year, like you mentioned it, nail on head, he usually has hot patches. He just hasn't had that hot patch that he always has this year, and he's just expecting it to come on. But again, like, I don't think it's coming on. I think it's just a matchup thing this week against Essendon.
Injuries.
Yeah, I think he's just too cooked now, getting too old. Waiting to see who the next kind of halfback flanker they bring up through the ranks is, because they still seem to be going back to him each week. So it's going to be interesting. Riley West.
Richards was floated about, which would be...
Well, he's gone into the midfield now, though.
Yeah,
like,
they want to send him back.
Yeah. Get Harvey Gallagher back in the side once he's back from injury.
Oh, man.
Riley West is the last one on this list. 99 points. Had the 3 goals. I actually streamed him this week. I was pretty confident against Essendon with the matchup, but I'm not sure if I'd do it again this week against GWS.
Yeah, I really rate Riley West. He's a handy player, but he's probably... too far in that defensive camp as a forward that, some weeks you might get a pop score out of him, but more often than not, you're looking at 50s and 60s.
He's 100% that. He's that kind of, 1 week play, good matchup, or you'll just get random stuff out of him that you can't predict. Weeks when he kicks like 3 or 4 goals, but it's just too hard to actually pick the weeks he'll do it. But props to him though, because I never thought he'd actually be a best 22 type player, but they really rate him highly.
Yeah, he was looking like a mid that just wasn't going to make it, obviously, with the depth at the Dogs, but to sort of transform himself into that half-forward pressure player, and he's been playing really well at it. Props to him.
Yeah. Onto the GWS versus Sydney game. Ryan Angwin's the only one on my list because there wasn't really a lot to talk about. Most of the 2G4Ps played well and most of the Spuds didn't. But yeah, Ryan Angwin, 89 points. He's playing on the wing, kind of come in for Callan Ward. Did not expect him to be the guy that comes in and takes over, but, good form in the twos and you can push into a side. Just keeps putting up decent scores. Like, I don't know, role-wise, I just don't think he's going to be a ceiling type, but I'm really liking his consistency so far. What do you think?
Yeah, look, one to keep an eye on. I feel like the back end of the Giants 22 has always been really hard to predict for a number of years. It feels like, 18 to 22, a couple of those guys just seem to be a bit of a revolving door. I know one like Jacob Weir was a little bit like Angwin for a few years there, where he'd pop in, pop out.
I thought he was going to be the guy that takes over Callan Ward.
So did I, yeah. So that's what has me worried about Ryan Angwin. He was a pretty high pick from memory. He might have even been a late first rounder, early second rounder. But for me, I couldn't launch with too much confidence. It feels like one that will be cutting at the end of the year regardless.
Yeah, it's hard, like, especially when you play leagues with us where we only keep 12. It's going to be pretty hard to keep a player like that unless you've got under 50 rules or whatever. Sydney were pretty poor. Not a lot to talk about. I'm not sure if you saw Jacob Gaynor, the GWS social media guy's post. Was it Pentagon, Octagon, Decagon, season gone? And a picture of the Sydney logo. So Sydney are gone. Do they rest players now? And like my concern, I'm really asking on a personal basis here for someone who owns Jake Lloyd. I feel like Jake Lloyd, he's out of contract at the end of the season. They dropped him a few weeks ago. Do they persist with guys like him? Do they give him a farewell tour, or do they try something new and bring kids in? Like, what do you think Sydney do from here?
It's an interesting question because it's obviously Dean Cox's first year as coach, so it's going to hinge massively on what direction he sort of sees the footy club going, whether or not it's time to strip it right back and start over, or
I feel like they've had a bad season with like injuries and stuff, like Errol Goulden, like you're losing those guys. I think they had Mills out for most of the season as well. Like, I feel they can put it down to a bit of that.
Yeah, maybe, but to me, Sydney have always been very system-based, and sometimes when their players are missing, they still, rock up with that Bloods footy and get a decent result, whereas I reckon this year they've looked all sorts, week in, week out, not sure what to expect from the Swans. So
what do they do from here then? Do they rest players? Do they try new stuff? Do they get rid of the old? Or what do you think? Mainly just Jake Lloyd, that's all I care about.
Look, I think finals are still mathematically possible for them.
Are they? Okay, yeah.
Well, they're still possible for Port, I think.
Oh, okay.
If everything goes right. So, if that's the case, I think they'll keep playing the old heads. But yeah, once that's over, I think that's the direction they'll be going in. They might just send all the players in for surgery and start their homework on 2026.
Yeah, mathematically, I think they are for Sydney. I don't think Port are now. But they'd have to win every game, and I think the teams above them would have to lose every game, which I don't think is happening. That's all. But anyway, hopefully for the Jake Lloyd owners out there, they give him a farewell tour. He plays his last game against West Coast in round 24 and has 150 points. Let's just hope that happens.
Yeah. I would assume it almost would. Maybe not the 150 points, but he'll definitely have a big farewell game, Jakey Lloyd.
My worry is they re-sign him early for a 1 year or something, and then just rest him for the rest of the year, which is entirely possible as well. On to the Gold Coast Suns versus Brisbane. I think we've already made Braden Fiorini too good for the podcast this season, but I just want to highlight that Zank's out there who'd be listening right now. He offered me him in a trade a few weeks ago for him. It was him, Todd Goldstein, essentially for a 5th round pick. And I was like, I don't really want to do it. But then Jai Caldwell went down, and I didn't have a backup ruck at the time as well. So I was like, yeah, right, I'll do it. Did the 5th rounder, and he's essentially traded me like 100+ average player. 100 average player. Like, I didn't even want Fiorini. Like, I was like, I don't even want him. Like, there's no world where I actually want him.
Dossie has really tainted the Fiorini name, unfortunately, but it's amazing how good he is in the twos, and it's probably a little bit unfortunate, and we've seen this from players in the past over a number of years. Just can't quite consistently replicate it at AFL level.
Yeah, but the knock on him has always been, I guess, his damaging, like his disposal and all that sort of stuff. But God, he racks them up, and he works so hard to win the footy.
I understand that argument, but there's no shortage of players like that in the AFL. So
I think the knock on him wasn't even a knock. He just never wanted to leave the Gold Coast. Like, he loves living there.
He could be in best 22, sort of 27,
I think he's late 20s. Yeah. Like, he never wanted to leave the Gold Coast, so like that's why he's like, fuck, I'll just stick around and play twos or whatever.
Full Blue Mountain State sort of.
Yeah, just loves Queensland, I think. So he doesn't want to leave. Because I think he's had offers. Like, I think Collingwood wanted him a few years ago. Keen, there's a few. But like, just stuck around, now getting a crack. And yeah, like I said, got him as steak knives in a deal a few weeks ago. And now he's one of the best players on my team, so not too bad there. Bailey Humphrey, this is an interesting one. 114 points, mainly played forward in this game. I think he kicked 3 or 4 goals, but he got a couple of those really late in like junk time. Had 8 tackles in that forward line, but I just think the lack of CBAs is a little bit concerning. Obviously, they threw him in there against the Crows to replace Took Miller. They got spanked, and then this week Alex Davies comes in and takes his spot. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, he's hard to predict at the moment, but I know Bailey Humphrey, his good games are getting in between them is shorter and shorter now.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
He's starting to find his place in this game, and I think over the next 2 seasons, he's going to be one that really sort of skyrockets into fantasy relevance for us. But at this point, if you're looking to stream him, it's... sort of cross your fingers sort of stuff, because he can still go missing. In fact, I think he might have had a single-digit fantasy score at the beginning of this season even. Yeah, maybe. I've been an owner all year up until last week. He wasn't in my best 18 as of last week, so I capitalised because I had Doherty, so I traded him for Vlostone. So I needed to replace defence because I couldn't get him on the field in my forward line. So there's the kind of move you have to make, but I think I do agree. Like, I think in 2 or 3 years' time, I'm going to be like wishing I still had him. Yep. Especially if he's got forward status for another couple of seasons or so. I guess the big one we kind of mentioned on the back of that is Alex Davies, 111 points, most requested player on the keeper platform this week. Back in the side after solid VFL form, 76% of the CBAs. So I think he's going to be the Took replacement while he's out. Do you think there's a world where him and Took remain in the same side, though, or do you think it's going to be a pretty short-lived kind of stint? I think it's short-lived. Alex Davies had a lot of opportunity to lock down his spot in that side over probably the better part of the last 2 seasons, and he hasn't been able to. So once Took returns, I'd be a little bit worried there. But if he's got his role currently, then lock and load, because we know in the twos he's ever consistent and is a super good midfielder. Junior numbers were always up to standard, but just hasn't got that opportunity in the seniors. Well, yeah, I saw an article today that he's possibly looking for a new club at the end of the year as well, so this might be a little audition for him. Yeah, well, we love players that are coming out of contract. So. Well, especially on keeper leagues. Pick him up. He's pretty highly requested on keeper this week, but if he does get dropped and someone puts him back in a couple of weeks, it might be one worth picking up and waiting for next season. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then Joel Jeffrey had his tri-weekly score of 109 points. We've got a bit of a running gag that he scores once every 3 weeks. He scores well, and he's kind of hit it again. He's been a great pickup at the start of the year for me in some of my draft leagues. He gets it done every couple of weeks and has been so valuable for where I picked him up. I think it's legit like 1 in 3
is like a big week for him. I'll get up his numbers here, but yeah, it looks like, like 108, then you got 2, 1, and then 90. And then it's like always 1 in 3.
So round 24.
Yeah. Oh, grand final week. Oh, no. Actually, no, it might be round 23.
Round 23,
in the prelim. You expect another big score from him, although hard opponent. And he's playing Richmond this week, so there's every chance he'll back it up this week. All right, let's go into Jai Farah is another one that's highly requested. 79 points. He was playing forward, but he's been a defender in the past, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, so like, I don't know, not sure I see that being sustainable. Like, this game was crazy. Like, there was a lot of fantasy points scored here. Like, forwards, who kick goals like Ainsworth and Long. Will Powell scored better with no Rioli. We mentioned Butterick as a waiver pickup last week to replace him. He also had, 89 points there as well. So, I don't know. I feel like this game was just played on their terms, and it won't always be like that for the Gold Coast Suns. So, yeah. Farah kind of fits into that mould as well. Cam Rayner and Zach Bailey, I think we've already made them too good for the podcast if we haven't already. They played all right. Sam Marshall started as the sub, but I'd love for him to get a full game because I've liked what I've seen from him so far and as a junior, but just can't get one in this Brisbane side, unfortunately. Didn't watch a second of the Fremantle versus West Coast game. I went to Bowden Brewing and had a couple of beers with a mate and a chat.
Oh, beautiful.
That was it. Yeah, it was a good afternoon. But anyway, Murphy Reid is the first one, 88 points. Is he a player that you see getting a midfield role in the future in that relatively young Fremantle midfield? Because he was drafted as a midfielder, but he's playing that half-forward role now.
Yeah, probably not. I know he was drafted as a midfielder, but sort of before he was even drafted, the big knock on him was his speed.
Yeah, okay.
And I just don't think that's going to work in his favour as the game gets even quicker. So for me, look, he plays fantastic footy in the role he currently is as a forward. Very impactful there. So look, for me, I think he's going to continue to play in that role. He might be one that sneaks up to 25-30% CBAs just as something a little bit different in there.
Like Bailey Humphrey is doing now.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I'm not heaps keen on him long term.
Yeah, I think you're right. And just the fact that we've seen like moments where he's kind of almost like flip games on their head, like by kicking 2 or 3 goals in a short space of time. Like he's pretty dangerous there. And I think that's the kind of player he'll develop into. The other one was Tim Kelly. The only interesting thing, he only scored 78 points, but he returned to centre bounces this week after a long hiatus of being away from them and also out of the side. Worth owning as a forward, I think, but Jack Graham comes back in 2 weeks, I think, as well.
He's a tough watch, Tim Kelly. I brought him into my classic side.
It looks like he doesn't want to be there.
Ago.
Oh, did you? Oh, yeah. Actually, Geordie told me that, actually.
Horrible. Just, and I can't believe he signed a new contract just a couple of weeks ago too.
It's crazy. Must be on minimum chips, I think.
Oh, you'd think so. I feel for the Eagles fans, though, because he's taking away a valuable spot. He just doesn't look like he wants to be there at all.
Sorry, I had a bit of a burp that just sounded. Shout out to Jameson Irish Whiskey Dry and Lime. Premium strength. I'm not sure what the non-premium strength is, but...
I think that's just what they've got, yeah.
But they're quite delicious. Louis brought a couple cans for the podcast recording, so just a shout out to them if they want to sponsor us. Jump on board. On to North Melbourne versus Geelong. Bryn Teakle, we've probably got one more week of him. Had 81 points again. Won the hit-outs, actually, in this game, which isn't really surprising. But like I said, Cherry comes back here next week. Streamable as a forward. Plays St Kilda this week. Marshall gives up points to Ruck, so he could well average, around the 85-90 mark for the season and be out of the side next week. But streaming option there.
Yep, that's exactly what it'll be.
Jeremy Cameron, he's too good for the podcast, but like I own him in my home league and I turned the showdown over at halftime to watch him kick bags, and goddamn, it was good fun to watch. 157 points, 11 goals. Do you think he gets to 100 goals this season? I've had this chat with many people this weekend. What do you think? Yeah, I reckon?
I don't think so. He's got a kick.
31 in 4 weeks.
31 goals.
So he's about 8 goals a game.
That's so many.
But the thing is, he's got Port, right? And Port key defenders, I'm pretty sure, are pretty easy to go big on at the moment. Maybe not fantasy wise, but I think quite a few are kicking bags. Like we saw Phil Thorpe do it last week. Then they got Essendon. That could be a 10. Like that could legit be a 10 that week.
Look, yeah, I'll give you a massive bag for Essendon.
Yeah,
and
Sydney middle of the road. That'd be tricky. It depends what they do now that they've kind of finished up. But then Richmond,
and he's got
in grand final week. So
Bolton will match up okay on
what's
him.
the curfew? What time of day?
That's
is it?
over.
Oh, is it?
He's out of jail.
Okay, so but Richmond are still the easiest team for key forwards. Richmond are 4th easiest team.
I reckon he'll sit probably about high 80s. He might nudge 90, but they'll play finals and he'll get there.
He'll get in 100.
I
Yeah,
don't know how that works. Do they come out onto the ground for 100?
Yeah, they do it. They've done it before. Yeah, I think Fraser Gehrig did it. Was the last one to do
right.
it.
Yep.
I think that was
2004.
Yeah, somewhere around then. Yeah, so yeah, like my point is though, I think that they'll feed him. They'll try to get it for him. So like, I think we're in for a few bags.
When was the last time it happened?
I think that was it, or in finals, or Buddy Franklin, I reckon.
Buddy Franklin.
Yeah. Okay. So that would have been the last one there. So.
That's a long time. So
yeah, 2008, I reckon. So it's been a while, but yeah, I reckon they'll try to get it, and especially because like they've shown up finals. I don't think they can really. They're not going to lose any of these games, and I don't think they really need percentage. I can't actually remember the ladder off the top of my head, but my point is, I think they'll try to get it, and so therefore we're going to see. I don't think he'll kick under 6 goals for the rest of the season.
The only thing that they'll have to be cautious of is not playing just Jeremy Cameron ball as they go into finals, because that's
the thing.
Not going to translate.
Yeah, you're right. They can't. They have to practice like the structures and everything going up against good teams. Yeah, true. Maybe that is the case. Maybe I'm living in a fantasy world, like a literal fantasy world.
Oh, mate, I wish I was there with you. That sounds fun.
Onto the shitty showdown. What a terrible performance. Little fun fact. I found this out today. Matthew Primus's showdown percentage was 40%. Ken Hinckley's is 42%. So they're essentially the same.
I found something similar out as well. As in 2012, our biggest loss was 58 points.
Yeah.
So
that was our biggest showdown loss, wasn't it?
I'm not too sure.
100 points had to be close.
No, the amount of times I've copped it could be 2012 again. We've already had 3 or 4 losses above what we did in 2012. So
yeah,
interesting how time.
Yeah. Anyway, Alex Neil-Bullen, he's on the bubble again. Had another big score this week, 12 tackles. I think the matchups over the last 2 weeks have just been good for him. Like, it's just like wait and see if he does it again. I'm not buying in that Alex Neil-Bullen's now a 100 average forward.
No, I think the Crows are just purring along and he's reaping the benefits of that, sort of on that high forward flank there.
I agree. Dan Curtin, we've already made too good for the podcast, but he got some centre bounce time and looked good. Just, basically saying I got it wrong from the get-go, that I didn't think he'd ever work into being a midfielder. Looks like they want to get him in there eventually, and they just, because they had the game on a string, they just gave him a crack this week, and he looked good in there. And then Sam Berry had 86 points. They were just his conditions, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he loves the tackles and the wet weather stuff. And then Jordan Sweet for Port Adelaide had 91 points. Just decent. Again, huge Supercoach game, 125 points. And he was even with hit-outs with Rob. So I think it was just a good effort. I think he's going to be like, he has to be Port's number 1 ruck for the future, right? It can't be Dante.
I think so. I really like Jordan Sweet. He's one that if I had the opportunity to pick up pretty cheap in a trade, I think I'd be going there, because I've got a feeling he's going to be 100 plus fantasy averaging ruckman.
He's got one in a season. I reckon he's got a season in him when he goes close. Like he's high 90s, I reckon.
I reckon he can push past it. Yeah. I really do. But we need the game plan to facilitate that. But
yeah. Anyway,
we'll see how that goes. I think he was a ruck under Josh Carr many years ago too, wasn't he? For North Adelaide?
Oh, yeah, he was too. You're right. Yeah, as a junior, like under 18s. But yeah, he was. He actually, and so was Rosie. They were in that same premiership.
That's right.
Side, yeah. Anyway, and then just fuck. How much does the media just love Ken Hinckley though? Like everything's Kenny's team. Kenny's this. Kenny's that.
I was watching it with my partner on the weekend, and she even mentioned to me, "Why do they call him Kenny?
Like, why do they just talk about him? Like, who cares? Like, no other team gets that much about their coach. Like, it's like our whole persona. It sucks.
Yeah, are you going to win for the fans? Or are you going to win for Ken?
Yeah, fuck Kenny.
It drives me nuts.
But the funniest part, I think it was Rowan Connolly was talking about how well he prepares his players, and they'll approach this like a final and rah, and then the players are going to be switched on and ready to go for him. Then the first fucking centre bounce, they kicked the wrong way. So how switched on? It was Miles Bergman in doing that.
Does Rowan listen to the show?
I know he hates me on Twitter, but
okay. So for me to call him an idiot drunk is okay. Then.
Oh no, that's fine. No. You can say whatever you want. Not enough people listen to the show to actually care.
He's delusional, that guy.
Oh, I just cannot believe it. It's like this. Yeah. Anyway, fuck it.
Yeah.
It's over.
So you don't want to turn it into the showdown melt, because we've only go all day.
Oh, to be honest, like fair play. Like there's a part of me like.
I kicked the feet up. I was like, how good is this? The legacy is just being torched as we speak.
Legacy in inverted commas, which is, huge finals losses. But anyway, we'll move on. I won't continue. There's something else funny I was going to say, but fuck it. I don't want to put the listeners through it. On to the Richmond versus Collingwood game. Tyler Sonsi's had back-to-back good weeks. He's playing further up the ground, kind of almost looks like a wing. I actually didn't pay too much attention to the wing attendances that were going on, but he scored well 2 weeks in a row, essentially. But he shouldn't score well there, so I'm not super excited just yet. Just kind of monitor, I think, for now. Jack Ross is now too good for the podcast. Got there with his 80 points. I think his forward status should be safe for next season. Still listed as a forward on the champion data classifications as well. So hopefully holds. Although he's had the second biggest uptick in CBAs over the last 3 weeks, I think it is. So
I don't hate this one as one to stash away for next season.
Especially as a forward.
Yeah, as a forward especially. I think he's got another level to go to. He's just never gotten that opportunity at the Tigers and didn't even seem like that up until about 6 weeks ago, and he's taken it with both hands. So
yeah,
I think that's one I'd be happy to take a punt on.
Yeah, definitely. Especially, like I said, with the forward status, it makes all the difference. Then Tom Mitchell, 111 points. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on Tom Mitchell at the moment. Like, I had this feeling all week he'd be the sub, and then Pendlebury was out, so then I don't think that was really a factor anymore. And he's scoring really well, but I don't know, if you owned him, and I do own him in one of my leagues, I'm a bit nervous about him because I look at that midfield and I look at side bottom, Long, Pendles, and then Titch after that, obviously. Like, looking at those three above him on that list, they're all pretty slow. You know what I mean? It seems too slow in midfield. I know you inject the Dacos in there and it changes everything. But I don't know, what are your thoughts? Would you be trusting him to play out the season, Tom Mitchell?
I don't think so. I think Collingwood for a number of weeks now have shown that they're more than happy just to rest the old heads. And Tom Mitchell, I know he's come back from a long layoff with injury, but he's every chance to pull up a little bit sore over the next few weeks and be rested or get given the sub vest. So that's one I think I would avoid.
I think there's a chance that he plays up until finals, which is good for fantasy. Like, he could just be used to rotate those oldies through, but I think as soon as finals hit, maybe he's not in the best 22. But like I said, like, if they come against the Crows in a couple of weeks and they want to put their best team forward to kind of secure top spot, I'm just not sure he's in the best team unless someone else is sore or injured or
that'll be
like
the
that.
real dress rehearsal one.
Yeah, definitely.
How that Adelaide team is.
I think they got Brisbane
up
this week, actually, so we could see it
there
this
you
week
go.
too.
That's
Yeah,
another
there's a
one
couple of
too.
weeks. But yeah, anyway, Braden Maynard had 89 points. Had a decent month coming back from injury, playing lockdown defender in this game, but still managed to take a heap of marks. Good matchup, but it was versus like the Tigers, so I don't think we can read in too much, but he's scoring well, so I don't know, something's going on there. Haven't looked into it enough. And then on to probably the game of the round, St Kilda versus Melbourne Demons. Watching Broden Kelly's podcast this morning on YouTube and watching them watch it live. Being a Melbourne supporter.
Oh.
The reaction was very funny where he just started telling everyone to fuck off towards the end of the podcast. It was very, very entertaining.
I'll have to find that clip and
go and have a look. Yeah, it's so good. They actually like commentate the last 3 minutes live or something like that and just watch it. It's so good. But anyway, Hunter Clark had 90 points. Only had the 20% CBA, so but then kind of moved into the midfield from like a more of a wing kind of half forward position it looked like. So I don't know, Hunter Clark's just perennially a tease, right?
Yeah.
You'd never trust him.
No idea where to put him.
Kind of like with Zach Jones at 8 points, like can find the footy when given opportunity. Like he's one of those players that starts on the wing a bit and then rolls in and just plays as an extra midfielder.
If I was going to stream one of them, I'd prefer Jones over Hunter Clark, I think.
Do the inside stuff a bit better and get a few more tackles and stuff like that. And then Jack Higgins would tip the cap too with 85 points. He kicked a few goals. Max Hall had the 79 points. Same deal. Starts forward. I think he had 10 CBAs, which was up on his normal numbers. But he's been starting forward and rolling into the midfield. And he's quite good around the stoppages. Like got a few clearances and stuff like that they needed at crucial times. I think he could be a bit of a player.
So do I. Yeah, I don't mind this one as someone to sort of bank over into next year with that forward status. He's a jet in his first season. I don't think he's done a full preseason either. So with another year under his belt, he could be one that really fires.
No, I think he's a good pickup if you can get him, especially in the last month. He's kind of show his colours as well, so he should be a good get for those who've got him.
Mature age to 24, 25 years old.
The last one on the list is Bailey Fritsch. Not a lot going on for Melbourne. He has 79 points, 3 goals. I think he's trying to he's off. He wants a trade. He wants out of Melbourne.
Really?
Yeah, that's the rumour I've heard. So I think he might be just like kind of putting himself out there and, you know, trying to put his best foot forward with some of the football he's playing. He's scored well the last few weeks as well.
Who's going to be left in their forward line?
Yeah, fuck knows. It's going to be pretty grim, isn't it? They'll players to kick goals there. They could move McDonald back there. I'm just trying to think. They've moved Disco Turner back.
McDonald, he's gone, isn't he?
I think he still played on the weekend. Harry Petty, I guess, is the other one.
Petty.
Yeah, there's not a lot down there though.
Oh,
Yeah.
who's the up and comer?
Van Rooyen.
Van Rooyen.
Yeah.
So
he's the other one
He
too.
was just dropped to the twos a couple of weeks ago too.
Yeah,
so.
played this week though. But anyway, like, don't expect this Bailey Fritsch run to last. I think he's just trying to like get himself a contract, really.
Bring back Wiedemann and Shaki as a bit of depth, maybe.
Jeez, Wiedemann was one of
Things are looking grim there.
One of Kayser's predictions of a good fantasy player for some reason. But anyway.
Jeez.
Anyway, that's it for the round recap. We'll just cruise through the listener questions now. Pretty much when I put the tweet out and the Instagram post out, it was basically every question was just like, how good is Zai Wangden-Miller? Because it was just after the game. So
good.
He's good. He's quite good. I think someone else was asking what's his contract worth or how do we even get him. So I know everyone's going to.
I mean, he's gonna re-sign with the Saints, right?
Well, I don't think Paul can't. We don't have the capital to get him.
No,
we've got the money, but we just don't have the picks to give up. Like, the only way I can see it is if we trade Butters. Like,
yes.
And I'd be happy to do that for Naz, but I still don't think that's enough.
Oh, do you know what? It annoys me because had we just told Houston just wait,
Yeah, exactly.
it would be the easiest trade ever.
Yeah.
This week.
Send him
this year,
Houston,
rather.
send him a first rounder and a good first rounder this year. And
I think what'll happen is it'll be 2 years more at the Saints until he
Gets free
qualifies
agency.
for free agency, and
Yeah.
then Port can maybe deal with a bit of currency because their 2026 first round pick isn't going to be used because we've got academy access for that. Doogie Cochran.
Doogie Cochran, yeah. Anyway, welcome back to the Port podcast. But yeah, no, I think you might be right. I don't think he wants to go to the Crows. They're the only ones who can actually make a move for him at the moment. At Ninja Spoon 1 saying, I'm coming home strong. Thanks for the solid advice. Have made some really good moves during buys and placed well in the back half. So thank you, Ninja Spoon, for listening. He's been a supporter of the podcast for a very, very, very long time, since day dot, I think. So
I see Ninja floating around on
he's
Twitter
a
all
legend.
the time. He's
Absolute
a nice
legend.
guy.
So thanks for listening to the show. Thanks for the kind feedback. Mortard wants to know, this was last week, so I promised I'd get back to him on this. He said he's heading into finals. Teams eliminated any waiver stashes, so avoid the preseason hype or having to use draft capital. He wanted below 20%. I looked at 20% owned on keeper leagues on the keeper platform, and it is grim. The only ones I've kind of identified is like Devin Robertson, maybe if he requests a trade and goes somewhere, because I reckon that might be on the cards, because he's putting up big numbers in the twos. So that's the only one I'm thinking of. Like some guys that also are there that are a bit younger, like Cole Shadir and Josh Goda. Like Cole Shadir showed enough for me on the weekend that he could be a handy forward.
I like Goda.
Just needs to stay
that could be a
fit.
shout if he stays fit.
Yeah. I think some of the draftees that were good fantasy scorers that have gone under the radar a bit this season because they haven't debuted is Cody Anderson, the beast from the East. I reckon if Warple goes, he could be a chance, I think, to debut next season. Jack Off, I think. No, Jack Orr. I don't know how to say his name, but I think it's GWS.
It's got to be off, right?
Oh, I don't know. I'd pronounce it Orr if that was my name. But anyway, surely their parents, if their surname's Off, they're not calling their kid Jack.
Do you remember the Sydney player Jack Hiscox?
Yeah, there's been so many.
Ago?
Yeah, so many. Yeah. Then I think there was a Mike Hunter as well. Lockie Jakes is another draftee that scored well as well. He's still there. And then Michael Selwood was the guy, actually. He was the one I should have mentioned with Johannesson, JJ.
He's from WA, isn't he?
WA, got picked up in the mid-season. He's had a couple good games in the twos. But I just think, he could be one that comes in maybe next year if Johannesson drops off a cliff or retires or whatever.
I think that's a pretty good shout.
Yeah. So maybe Michael Selwood might be. His surname's Selwood as well. So.
Yeah, the Dogs just have this sort of way of loving to pick a mature age state league player and play them for 22 games.
They also love giving their halfback flankers good scoring roles as well. So that's another thing that you might work in his favour. Siegs wants to know what's going on with Caleb Windsor. What's he going to be? Seems to have gone backwards this year and now isn't even best 22. So they actually used him in the midfield. Like, he got CBAs this week and then got subbed out in the fourth quarter. What are your thoughts? Do you think he ends up as a winger, as an inside midfielder, halfback flanker, and does he end up being a fantasy scorer?
I think he ends up being a winger.
Yeah.
And I think the fantasy scoring will be decent. He's just in an unfortunate club right now, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think Melbourne are lacking a little bit of direction at the moment, and they've got a lot of unhappy senior players, and they've got a lot of unhappy, younger players, junior players. So Caleb Windsor's getting lost in the middle a bit, I think, and it's hard to find form when that's the case.
How old is Ed Langdon?
I'd be pushing 30 now.
Yeah, he might be
30 at the start of next season.
Yeah, 30 to start next season. So I think you're kind of biding your time until he, or like say left Clayton Oliver leaves or something like that, then he might go in as a full-time inside mid. Then Windsor maybe starts being a best 22 type player. Then
it might be about where Xavier Lindsay wants to settle down
that too. Because at the moment I think they've got two good wingers and he just can't get into the side. I think that's probably purely what it is. In terms of fantasy though, if he ends up as a winger, I don't love it as a fan. Like, you might be an 80 average guy around out your midfield, but that's probably about it, I reckon.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So pretty much Ed Langdon.
Yeah. You can pick up a million of these kind of guys in a draft each year, especially if you're in like a shallow keeper league, like you only keep 12 to 14 type thing. These guys are always available, so probably not one that you'd give up too much to kind of keep. Kyle Oakley wants to know who would be the fantasy world's rising star this year. Do you know the qualifications for rising star? I think it's under 21 and under 10 games, right?
At the start of the season.
So I looked into it using that. It was, I think, and then going by average, I think Archie Roberts has to be the rising star, doesn't he? Halfbacker at Essendon.
If you're going by average, yeah, I suppose he would be. Fantasy world's rising star. If we're talking fantasy, I think I would give it to, Levi Ashcroft helped numerous coaches this year.
Yeah, I still think,
from a classic perspective.
I still think Roberts is averaging like 20 points per game more than him though. So I think he's averaging close to 90. So I think it has to be him, doesn't it? He only played 4 at the end of last season.
I'm giving it to Levi Ashcroft just because he made all the money in classic. He's got the name recognition.
It's the classic show, mate.
He's got the name recognition in a keeper league. You make me a trade with Archie Roberts or Levi Ashcroft, in which direction are you headed in?
Long term, I'm probably going Ashcroft every day of the week.
There's my answer.
But this year I traded Ashcroft for Max Gawn. So
Archie Roberts, he's essentially playing marks up because the ball just repeatedly goes into Essendon's back 50.
And also as well, like I've seen a few of these players, like they come on for a season or whatever early, and then they, things like McKercher and stuff like that. But I guess the point is like McGrath, but and that's the thing, they are crowded back there. They've got Ridley, Redmond, McGrath, and he's the one who seems to be scoring the best out of all of them. I do agree with you. Levi Ashcroft long term, but I think just based on this year, like fucking Reece Palmer was a rising star winner. Like no one ever saw him being an actual superstar for life, but you just got to give it to the guy who's in form at the time. That's my answer there.
Fair enough.
P-Rex also wants to know, what is your position on players who seem to score well?
Does Ned Long qualify?
I think he's too old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he was on Hawthorn's list and all that beforehand. Anyway, what is your position on players who seem to score even with shit roles? So look at Sonty, Hall, Hutchinson. Are these players worth investing in, or does it depend on situation?
It's tough. Often these players are in those, quote, shit roles because they're good at those shit roles.
Yeah.
And it's not a shit role. It's a super important role. It's, it might be a little bit more defensive. It might be more team-based, but it's, it's a cog in a system that helps everything turn over. So,
yeah.
Got to back your eye a little bit. I think you can tell when a player has got something that others don't, and sometimes that can just be a step on the way into their development.
So someone like Max Hall, I see that as like he's got something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, most of these guys probably won't stay in shit roles as well. Like, you look like the 3 players he's named, Sonty, Hall, and Hutchinson, right? Like, Sonty's had 2 good weeks, so that's why he's made the list, you know what I mean? But, like, just because he's scoring well in a shit role doesn't mean he'll score well consistently. He's just had 2 good weeks.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hall is someone I think's got a bit of pizzazz about him. Rolls into the midfield. I think he had a good number of CBAs this week, so that's obviously like a sign. He could be a good inside player. Hutchinson plays for the shittest team and plays on a wing. I wouldn't be... And I know he's had like a few... I know he had back-to-back 80s. I didn't check what he got this week, but he didn't make the show dog, so I'm assuming it wasn't high. Again, they pop every now and then because they're on a wing and the circumstances suit them. But, I don't think there's even... I wouldn't even say they'd be scoring well, you know what I mean? They just have a few lucky weeks, I think. So, I don't know. My personal opinion is if you can see them going into if they're good enough to go into a good role in the future, then probably go nuts.
I think if I were a list manager at West Coast or Richmond, I'd probably see Sonzy and Hutchinson as depth.
Yeah.
In a best case scenario.
Yeah.
Whereas a Hall, he looks like he's worth persisting in. I can't see him being dropped down to the 2s unless he falls off a cliff.
And like I said before, like they're not. It says here they're scoring well with shit rolls. They're not scoring that well. They've just had a couple good weeks here and there. You know what I mean? So it's not like they're really consistent at the moment. So yeah. Anyways, that'll wrap it up. Thanks, Lewy.
Good chat, mate.
Coming on. No, it was always great chat having you. Thanks for the jammy dry and line.
No worries. Yep. Knock off.
Usually I have the beers. I was lacking this week, so you pulled through. So thank you. Anything you want to plug or anything else?
Yeah, just get around Pod.
Yeah.
We're recording every Monday.
Yep.
Episodes out Monday night. So we'll keep plugging along with that. Holmes at the moment is rank 16.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so
Is he any chance of taking out the car? What's the difference?
Potentially. If everything goes his way, he's in with a shot there. But
where are you? You were top 100 at one stage?
I was. The wheels have fallen off.
Yeah.
I think I'm about 750 at the moment.
You've done a few Lewy left field Lewy moves, I reckon.
Oh yeah, I've been on the raw end of a few things.
Did you have
also
Whitfield?
done some. Yeah, I had Whitfield as the C, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
A few people had that.
But Sammy as well is doing really well. I think he's top 250 and I'm top 750. So the boys are showing up, and John Harmy's coming home with a wet sail as well, which is nice to see.
Well, I'm doing the opposite. I'm dropping 1,000 ranks each week. So last week, I reckon I think 2 weeks ago, I forgot to make my trade.
Oh, no.
Well, I thought I'd made it, and then I didn't. And then I looked at Sunday with 3 games to go, so I didn't have a lot to choose from. And then this week, I spent about 15 seconds choosing my trade. So
it's that time of year, isn't it?
This could be my last season of Classic, I think. I'm falling out of love with the game, unfortunately. But that's probably got a lot to do with I've got 3 draft leagues that are flying, as well. So that's the thing. So
yeah, it's a big time investment. I'm not an Asaya Wanganeen Miller owner in Classic, which is making things very difficult at the moment.
And yeah, I think he needs to re-sign ASAP so they stop bumping his price up and then he might not score as well for a few weeks. That's my theory. Anyways, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for listening to the show once again. Follow us on all the social platforms if you want to see more of our content. If you wish to support the show and get access to all of our bonus resources, and it's within your means to do so, please sign up as a member. Links to all that stuff is below in the description on the podcast. And yeah, thanks again, Lewy, and we'll talk to everyone next week. See ya.
Bye.